This is IGN. True love never dies, but this remake should have. This is your IGN review of The Crow by A.A. Dowd. Few box office sensations are as intrinsically of their own moment as The Crow, the Baroque lullaby of beyond the grave retribution that swooped into theaters on a tailwind of tragedy in the summer of 1994. Brandon Lee, the film's 28-year-old star and the son of martial arts legend Bruce Lee, was killed on set in a freak accident involving a prop gun. The dark truth is that his death lent the whole movie a chill of morbid, art-imitating life gravitas. You weren't just watching an actor play a superhero rising from the dirt to avenge his true love. You were seeing, in a sense, the ghost of that actor, conjured on screen via a posthumous performance that blurred the line between real and fictional loss. Thankfully for all involved, no grave misfortune hangs over the reboot of The Crow, whose behind-the-scenes troubles were more mundane, a string of exiting stars and creative teams that kept it in development hell for years. Of course, it was more than just the ghoulish fascination of Lee's presence that made the original a hit. That film was a junky runway show of a comic book fantasia that got by on style and attitude and fashion sense. On the way, it synthesized its goth influences into a highly marketable brand. This new Crow never tries to party like it's 1994, which is both a relief and one reason it's destined to become a footnote. Watching it, you're more aware than ever of how inextricable the Crow is from his Gen X genesis. Gently tortured Eric, played by Bill Skarsgård, plastering on clown makeup again after his tenure as Pennywise, and endangered Shelley, played by pop star FKA Twigs, meet cute in a prison-like rehab facility before flying the coop and building a life together. Unfortunately, Shelley's past catches up with him, and the two are murdered in their love nest. Only murdered, it's another sign of the changing times that this Crow excises the first half of the rape-revenge formula the original flippantly exploited. The smartest choice in the script by William Schneider and King Richard screenwriter Zach Balan is to devote some screen time to the romance at the center of the story, as opposed to relegating it to snazzy flashbacks. But the relationship never develops beyond fashion-spread canoodling. This is not exactly a love story for the ages, and so Eric's subsequent rampage fails to accrue the operatic heartache it desperately demands. Between bouts of gunplay, Eric returns to a limbo afterlife that resembles the foggy, marshy underpass of a bridge. You'd think they'd come up with something better, quips our hero's helpful spirit guide, played by Sammy Bouajila. This patron saint of exposition isn't kidding. You'll miss the gaudy visual imagination original Crow director Alex Proyas brought to this pulp material. The plot, tweaked for a new generation of mascara-wearing goth kids, is like something out of a My Chemical Romance concept record, with Eric agreeing to hunt down his beloved's killer, a literal servant of Satan who condemns innocent souls to hell in exchange for immortality to free Shelley from the underworld. That's an agreeably over-the-top direction for The Crow to take, but like almost everything else in the movie, it feels half-baked, even with Danny Huston as the John Wick-esque aristocrat villain, whispering unholy suicide hexes into the ears of his victims. Once more planting his freak flag at the intersection of hunky and creepy, Skarsgård is about as close to perfect casting as you're gonna get for a 2024 version of The Crow. He's like some unholy love child of James Dean and Peter Lorre, the perfect combination for a sensitive artist twisted into an angel of death. And if Skarsgård doesn't quite escape Lee's shadow, and how could he looks great with tattoos, black eyeliner, and a sword swung over one shoulder. In its best moments, like a slow-motion saunter to total depravity by the Veils, a fine modern correlative to The Cure, whose goth grandeur both inspired and soundtracked the original, this Crow feigns toward its own brand of rockstar cool, and cool is about all that matters with this character. After years of delays, a new version of The Crow has finally flown into theaters. But even with a gamely, brooding Bill Skarsgård in the title role, it's a shadow of the 1994 version, a more generically operatic superhero movie that lacks the flashy style and Gen X attitude that made the original an instant sensation with goth kids of all ages. And despite some fruitful tweaks, like devoting more time to the doomed romance The Crow is avenging, it's not different enough to compensate for the ways it fails to match the splashy, moody, dumb fun of what came before it, or, for that matter, the morbid star power of the late Brandon Lee. Maybe there's just something futile about trying to raise this story from the graveyard of Hollywood franchises. The Crow's IGN score? 5. Thanks for listening to IGN. My name is Tony Jackson, and for the latest updates on The Crow, visit us at IGN.com.
Spoken Layer.